Yes.
Thank you. Welcome to all of you. So today we are going to have a session on Azure Fundamentals. So that will be helping you to skyrocket your cloud skills. And I am Nitin Gupta, and currently I'm working as a delivery head BI services in CCS Global Tech for the last 10 years. And I have got more than 10 plus years of experience in data engineering, business intelligence, and supported also on the government-led and federal projects in the US market in data engineering, data warehousing, and cloud computing. So I assisted various clients and consultants throughout the US, India, Costa Rica, and the UK location. So this is something about me. And now, without wasting time, we can just jump to our session. So the agenda which is set for today is for Azure Fundamentals, although the scope of the Azure is very vast. And today we are going to understand first about the fundamental concepts of Azure. That will be really helping you to go ahead in different segments available in Azure related to data engineering side, web applications, mobile applications, DevOps, and multiple things. So we will see all these things in a nutshell manner. And if you really want to move ahead in Azure on different segments and different resources, so first we have to see about some fundamental concepts. How these fundamental concepts can help you lay down a structure for yourself. And based on that structure, you can move ahead in your career, right? So let us see first something about the Microsoft Azure fundamental cloud computing. We had different kind of cloud models available that I will be helping to understand. Cloud services type, certifications, that's the most important section. What you will achieve once you have the certification and how it will open the path for more certification in the Azure, because right now we are more talking about the Azure fundamental certification. And we will see some different job roles available based on those certifications. So let us start on the Azure fundamental. So guys, Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform with an ever-expanding set of services to help you build solution to meet your business goals. So first, let us see some of the bullet points, and then I will come to every bullet point in more detail. Okay. So Azure provides a wealth of cloud-based services like remote storage, database hosting, and centralized account management. And Azure Fundamental is a series of the 3 learning paths that familiarize you with Azure and its many services and features. So this is your curated guide to Azure for networking, storage services, and compute architecture. So let's start a little bit from the scratch about the Microsoft Azure. So guys, we know that it's no kind of a secret that it is a cloud computing platform, right? And it provides you different set of services that will be really helping you to build solution to meet your business goals. Now we can build this kind of solution either for enterprises, right? Either for small business houses also. So it doesn't matter basically how much services you need, right? How many services you need, what kind of operation you want to perform. So whether basically you're running a small, I would say, a small business center, right? Or suppose you have an enterprise organization. So we are providing, I would say, Microsoft Azure is going to provide you different kind of services that will be helping you. So it provides wealth of cloud-based services. It comes from the remote storage, database hosting, centralized account management. These are some few of the services, but Azure provides 600 plus services, right? So these 600 services basically depends what kind of career path you're going to build, right? So there might be today audiences, right? So we might be having some of the key personnel who are looking for a career in the networking, right? Okay. Some want to be a security administrator, right? Some want to move ahead in database, business intelligence, data warehouses, right? Okay. There might be some of the few people who are working on the web application side, and they want to build some professional web application for the e-commerce and other things. So we can utilize all these services in Azure. Okay, it totally depends what service you want to pick, and based on that, you want to build up your career. Okay, so we will see more details about the services in coming slides. Okay, so Azure Fundamental is a series of the three learning path that familiarize you with the Azure and its many services and features. So today we are going to start with our very fundamental, because we have different kind of sessions in the future also, which are based on different kind of resources, different kind of services of the Azure. So today we are talking more about the fundamental, but in more sessions in the future, we can talk more about the data fundamentals. Right? We can talk about the security. We can talk about the business intelligence. We can also talk about the other applications that are provided from the Azure side. So Azure Fundamental is a curated guide for Azure for networking, storage services, and compute architecture. It includes interactive exercises that give you hands-on experience with Azure, right? So we just need to know first how basically we can build our resources in Azure, how basically we are able to take those resources for a different business operation. That will be really helping us in the business operation. So all these things you're going to learn in the Azure Fundamental. Okay. So Azure provides various software services to be delivered over the internet. It can be, you might have seen Hotmail, right? Bing, Office 365, right? So it is also one of the cloud computing services provided by the Azure. If I talk about the some basic infrastructure of the Azure, it operates in 70 regions all over the world. And guys, we have more than 400 data centers, which is more than any cloud provider. It is open and flexible cloud platform, right? If I talk about the open flexible means what, we can say the benefits of the cloud computing services include the ability to scale elastically, right? So it means delivering the right amount of IT resources. So there might be some of the business houses which basically require some less computing power, right? There might be some of the business houses which require more computing power. Similarly about the storage, similarly about the bandwidth. So when it is needed from the right geographic location, so it is flexible in nature. Apart from that, it allows us to build, deploy, and manage different applications across global network, right? So as we discussed that Azure operates more than 70 regions all over the world right now. So in this particular case, you might be in US location, you might be in Asia, you might be in Europe, right? Australia and other locations all over the world, right? So in this case, whenever you're going to build any kind of application, be it a database application, be it a web application, be it a mobile application, right? So we are able to deploy those applications in Azure depending on the geographic location that you choose. So because Azure has, I would say more than 400 data centers, right, all over the world, and they are investing billions of dollars, making it more better. So we are able to choose a location of our choice in a different region, and based on that, it provides better networking operation, better scalability. So we can build applications using any language, tool, or framework, as Azure supports a broad selection of operating system, programming languages, framework, database, and devices. So I will show you a small demo in some of the minutes where we can see that we are able to build infrastructure services, right? So these infrastructure services belongs to, let's say, suppose we want to create a virtual machine with particular operating system like Linux and Windows, and we can put all those services in a particular region, right? So these infrastructure helping us to create a kind of base. On the top of that, we are able to provide platform and software, right? So it helps us to build, manage, and deploy apps very quickly and easily. So it helps to draw insights from multiple data sources. Like you can use ERP also, you can use CRM system also, right? And we can integrate our apps with the tools we use every day. Like right now, there are some popular tools available like Microsoft Power BI, right? Microsoft Excel. Okay. So we can utilize these tools from directly from the Azure services. It might be some inbuilt ERP system, CRM system, inbuilt databases, virtual machine where we have installed SQL Server, Oracle database, and we can directly utilize the data into the Power BI and Microsoft Excel. So Microsoft Excel basically is a very spreadsheet program, all of you know, and Power BI basically is utilized on the top of Azure, right? So we create our reports in Microsoft Power BI Desktop, but once we deploy and publish those reports, they are not in our system, right? They basically deployed over the cloud Azure system. So in this case, any person who is in anywhere in the world can utilize those reports from the mobile, from the laptop, desktop without any problem. Azure also allows us to integrate public cloud application with our existing IT environment, right? So public clouds basically are owned and operated by a third-party cloud service provider, which deliver their computing resources like servers and storage over the internet like Azure. So I would say there is no limitation right now in Azure in terms of services, whether it's infrastructure services, whether it's a platform services, whether it's a software services. It provides a huge amount of storage and you are able to scale those storage as per the requirement in your business domain, right? Apart from that, you are able to adjust the computing power in the sense how much resources you require in terms of storage, in terms of RAM, in terms of processing power, right? So all these things we can utilize over here. And in this particular case, we are able to adjust the compute side as per the requirement. Be it can be extended, be it can be reduced, and based on that, your payment cycle is created in the Azure. So cloud computing basically is the delivery of the computing services over the internet. So these computing services, as we discussed, can do anything. It might be infrastructure, as we discussed. It might be some apps and services. It might be websites and blogs. It might be streaming audio and video. We can deliver software on demand as per the requirement. If I talk about, because mostly we deal in our data sector, BI sector, so we can analyze data for the patterns and make predictions also. So again, any services. So any services currently we are using on premises, we can utilize those services on the Azure. So these services include common IT infrastructure, virtual machines, storage, database, networking, and other things. So cloud services also expand the traditional IT offering to include things like machine learning and artificial intelligence, which is basically very required in this current scenario and also in the future. So how basically utilize those services, and Microsoft also introduced Copilot, which basically are inbuilt feature for different Microsoft apps and other things that we can utilize internally. And apart from that, Microsoft also provides to write code in different languages, which we can utilize in data sector. So for example, when we create a warehouse in Microsoft Azure, in terms of Synapse architecture, in terms of Databricks, we can basically include Python and PySpark to include machine learning and provide the predictive analytics advantage to the client on the warehouse that we created in the Azure. And then we can utilize our reporting tool like Power BI that can consume that data and intelligence and utilize to show all the information and patterns to the end client and end customer. So again, everything is connected to each other in this scenario. Okay. So guys, we have different kind of cloud models available. We can discuss on this in detail. So first we have the public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. So let us talk in detail about this section. So first, let us talk about the private cloud. So basically, guys, private cloud, we can say simply cloud computing resources or collection of cloud computing resources, right? Exclusively by a single business or organization. So a private cloud can be physically located on the company's on-site data center. Some companies also pay third-party services provider to host their private cloud. So a private cloud is one in which the services and infrastructure are maintained on a private network. Just for example, let's suppose there might be a university campus, right, where we have some servers, or there might be a IT company which basically host host and manage all the data in their own personal data center, right? So there might be also a possibility that there are some companies which also pay third-party service provider to host their private cloud. So private cloud is an internal enterprise or corporate cloud, right? The on-premise software delivery model install and operate from a company in-house server and computing infrastructure. So it only requires a license or purchased copy of the software to operate. So whatever software is purchased by the company is licensed. In fact, the entire instance of the software remains within the organization premises. So there's more control in terms of security, right? So let's just suppose again, as I spoke about university campus, which maintains all its data and hosts that data in its own personal campus, right? So although it provides the better control in terms of security, but at the same time, since on-premise software requires in-house server hardware, software licenses, web server, database server, operating system, we require physical security, right? Apart from that, integration and active support from the IT wing of the organization. So it is sometimes expensive, and you have to also put a lot of maintenance on the private cloud, right? So in this particular case, all these companies and organization, they get an extra burden, right? In terms of replication, in terms of backup, in terms of security, in terms of, I would say, proper support from the IT team. And we get some challenges, right? So what can be challenges? Again, physical security, right? So we have to make sure that our data is kept secure. So we have to place proper biometrics and other kind of stuff in our campus where we have all the servers deployed, right? Second challenge is what is scalability. So guys, I am talking about some personal experience which we have utilized in our state government projects right now. So we also activity in government projects, CCS Global Tech, right? So we have gone to different projects in the market for transit domain, utility domain, in the state US market, where some different organization like, let's just suppose, transit agencies. So recently we have worked on two projects, CapMet 2, which is in Austin, Texas, and COTA, which is Central Ohio Transit Authority. So we basically extracted data from different transit data sources, put data into a warehouse in the cloud, and utilize Power BI application to utilize the data as per the client requirement and providing all the analytics and insights to the client, right? So they were still basically working on what on-premise data sources to store the data for the riderships, mileages, and other things. Similarly, we have worked on a project for water district utility domain for Lansing Road, and the client was utilizing older SharePoint application and utilizing data on premises, right? So they come with various challenges, right? So when they basically put a kind of proposal, RFP, a request for proposal in the open bid market, they put all the challenges, right? So I'm talking about those common challenges. So first is what they are struggling with the scalability, right? They are struggling with the maintenance, right? They are struggling with the fluctuation of resources, right? They are struggling with the high availability. So when they basically maintain all their data in their own personal devices, personal servers, so they have to also make sure that this hardware or servers has to be upgrade time to time, right? They require proper maintenance. So there might be a possibility a particular server is working right now, but they have to also prepare a backup domain server. Why? There might be a possibility that the first server is not working sometimes, so they have to shift to backup domain server for the availability of the data, right? They have to also deploy some resources to take proper replication and backup of the data, because data is the most important entity for any organization, right? There might be a possibility right now that a particular ABC organization has 100 employees, but now they have got exponential growth in their business operation, and they want more scalable resources in terms of hardware, in terms of storage, right? Then sometime what happened that they want to make sure my servers and everything is 24/7 available without any issue, without any problem. So in these kind of challenges, we have to make sure that all this information, storage, infrastructure, security is maintained in a way where the client do not want to put any effort on the maintenance, right? They can just concentrate on what their business operation, core business operation, without worrying about what data, security, infrastructure, resources, fluctuation problem, scalability problem, right? So this is something Still, basically, we have got multiple projects in the state market in the US where universities, healthcare organization, and other utilities and transit domain are still basically utilizing that 7 to 8 years old infrastructure. But now they really want to move towards what? A kind of infrastructure which basically support them in a kind of way through that they are able to concentrate on what? On the core business operation, rather than they basically are hiring resources and putting all the efforts on what? Maintenance of the infrastructure. So here comes what? Public cloud, right? So whatever challenges we discussed right now on the private cloud, if we jump to public cloud, they are owned and operated by what? A third-party cloud service provider, which deliver their computing resources like servers, as we discussed about, right? Virtual machines, right? Infrastructure, storage. But all these resources which we are talking about, they are delivered over the internet, right? So Microsoft Azure is an example of a public cloud. Again, we have AWS, GCP, other services also available. And recently we have got Snowflake only for dedicated data warehouse, right? So these services that we're talking about, because right now our session is more only Microsoft Azure, with this, we are able to provide all the hardware, software, and other supporting infrastructure that is owned by Azure. But you can basically utilize those resources as per the requirement without worrying about the maintenance and fluctuation problem or backup issues, right? And based on the computing power that we require, it totally depends how many servers we require, right? It totally depends that how much storage we require based on the business operation. It totally depends what kind of security we want to implement and application we want to implement. We have to make a kind of payment per month basis. And based on that services that we are taking from the Azure, the payment is decided, right? Again, payment cycle is different for different kind of operation. It is very much different for the infrastructure or virtual machine or server if you want to create a server. It is very much different if you want to just create a database or data warehouse. It is very much different that if you want to utilize a certain amount of storage, right? So again, if you want to get more information about the Azure pricing infrastructure, it is very much publicly available on the Azure. And you can go to Azure core website. There is the option called pricing. So based on the resource we select, based on the computing power we select, and also based on the location you select, it give you the pricing, and we can basically also prepare a kind of estimation for this kind of infrastructure, right? Okay. So that is something called the public cloud, right? And we can access all these services and manage your account using a web browser very easily. So I will show you a small example today where we can see all the resources. Again, basically our company deals more in the database and BI services in data warehouses. I can show some examples where we can find these kind of resources in the Azure. Okay. Then third is what? Hybrid cloud, right? Guys. So hybrid cloud, I would say combine public and private cloud, which is bound together by technology that allows data and application to be shared between them. So there might be a possibility that there's an existing organization with their own personal servers and infrastructure, right? Okay. And on the top of that, they want to utilize some public cloud operation. Okay. So let's say suppose they want to maintain a database, which is a OLTP system, online transaction processing system. And this they want to maintain on premises, right? Now, their data is keep increasing day by day because of the enhanced business operation, and they want to utilize the analytic services on the top of this data. Now, the problem is what? They are basically maintaining their data in the OLTP, transactional database, right? So let's just suppose if they are going to talk to any consultant or BI consultant who suggested them that, hey, why don't you create a Synapse or a data warehouse architecture in the Azure cloud or ABC cloud, right? And we can transfer this data from the on-premise OLTP system to the cloud data warehouse. On the top of that cloud data warehouse, we can utilize any reporting tool like Tableau or Power BI. And through that, we are able to provide all the analytics to the client, right? So here, basically, we are combining the public and private cloud. What's my private cloud? My own personal infrastructure of the company. What is my public cloud? I want to utilize some of the services from the cloud, and by combining these two operations, we can run our business operation, right? So by allowing the data and application to move between the private and public cloud, hybrid cloud gives business greater flexibility and more deployment options, right? Next, we have what? Community cloud, right? It is shared by several organizations and typically it is hosted externally, but sometimes it can be internally hosted by one of the organization. So let's suppose there might be a small campus of 10 to 15 companies. It's not mandatory they're IT company. It might be like any kind of company, like there's some kind of retail market, right? There might be some kind of XYZ company. So now, rather than basically they are going for public cloud, what they can do, they can sit together, decide on their requirement of the resources, infrastructure and server. And rather than every single company in that campus investing on its own personal infrastructure, they can basically take the services of an IT company who can set up an infrastructure for all those 15, 20 companies inside that campus, right? So in this case, they can do a significant less investment because now everybody is contributing. And through that, they are able to make a kind of infrastructure which is shared by all those companies inside that campus. Again, some discussion should be having because everybody have a different requirement. But if they come on a mutual agreement, it can be a really good option for what? This kind of organization, right? So this is something called what? Community cloud. Now, let's talk about the cloud service types. So if you can see this particular image, so we have the infrastructure services, we have the platform services, and we have the software as a services, right? Let us talk about one by one about these services, and these services helping us to set up the entire operations inside the Azure or inside the cloud, right? So first, the base is what? Infrastructure as a services. So infrastructure, if I talk about, is the most basic category, guys, right, of the cloud computing services. With the help of infrastructure, you can rent IT infrastructure such as servers, virtual machines, storage, networking. I would say operating system, right, from a cloud provider, and again, it can be like pay as you go basis. So, for example, we have two kind of scenario guys available today right now. So first is what? Right now, let's just suppose we have any existing Windows server or Linux server available in our company. I want to exactly create a similar server in the cloud. So we discussed about the advantage that we don't have to worry about the maintenance, backup, recovery. So exactly similar kind of server will be created in the Azure cloud, right? Advantage is what? That we can avoid the expense and the complexity of buying and managing what? Our own physical server and other infrastructure. So if I talk about that base infrastructure, on that infrastructure, again, we can deploy some application, right? Let's just suppose if we have established a Windows server in the Azure, in this Windows server, we can deploy SQL Server, right? We can deploy IIS, where we can host a website, right? We can basically also deploy any kind of Tomcat server on a particular machine or JBoss or these kind of server, which can be helping us to deploy the Android application. It totally depends upon the requirement. So ultimately thing is what? Rather than I'm purchasing a physical server, I can create a similar kind of server with the same kind of storage, processing power, RAM in the cloud. And we have to just make some payment based on our business operation on the monthly basis or whatever cycle we decide. And in this case, the maintenance of that server will be maintained by the Azure. This is called what, guys? Infrastructure as a services, right? So it is comprised of all the hardware as we discussed. Okay. Next is your platform as a service, right? So let's just suppose we have created our infrastructure. It is now ready. What next? So next is what? Platform. So it refers to cloud computing services that supply on-demand environment for developing, testing, delivering, and managing what? Software application. So it is sometimes utilized for developers which can quickly create web or mobile application without worrying about setting up managing the underlying infrastructure of server, storage, network, and databases. For example, again, I'm talking about in terms of data, right? So let's just suppose there's a company A which created an infrastructure first in terms of a server. And on the top of that infrastructure, they installed SQL Server virtually in the cloud and now want to utilize that SQL Server database for business operation. That's option number one. Let's come to option number two. There's a company B and their requirement is on database. They are not worrying about more setting up a server, right? So rather than they are creating an infrastructure, what they are saying, hey, Azure, can you provide me a service where we can directly create a database and you can manage the database? Yes, we have this option. So in this case, if I am a developer or my company want to create a dedicated data warehouse or database or any application, but I do not want to go for what? Any infrastructure of server, storage, or something like this in the IIS, or sorry, IaaS, right? So in that particular case, guys, we can go for what? Platform as a service, right? So it is designed to support the complete application lifecycle. We can build, we can test, we can deploy, we can manage, we can make some updation, right? So it allows you to avoid the expense and complexity of what? Buying and managing licenses inside the infrastructure, right? So a very common example of this service is Azure SQL Database and Azure Synapse. And for creating this warehousing database in the cloud, we do not need to first create a server in the cloud, right? So again, we have both options available and it totally depends upon the company to company requirement or organization to organization requirement, right? So if any organization requires a dedicated server, because it is not only utilized for databases, but for other operation. So when they already have a server, what they can think, hey, let's go for SQL Server installed in that server in the cloud, right? There might be a company B who do not have the requirement of any infrastructure server, right? But they just want to utilize a database for the business operation. So why they want to go for infrastructure? In this case, they can directly jump to what? The platform as service. Okay. Now, third is what is software as service, right? So guys, software as service is a method of delivering software application over the internet. Again, it can be on demand as per the requirement, or sometimes we can also take a subscription, right? So with the help of this SaaS, which is the top layer, why it's called the topmost layer of the cloud? Because this is the layer through which end user like you and me are able to utilize the cloud operation, right? So in this particular case, vast majority of the consumers utilize this service, which sits on the top of both IaaS and PaaS, right? So every time basically we use Google Play Store, right, or any App Store, Dropbox, right, Spotify, or any other cloud-based software, which is stored in a web server located in a data center, halfway around the world, we don't know, right? And we are accessing the SaaS layer of the cloud, right? So even if some of you have worked on Power BI application in the Azure, right, or some of you have worked on some Tableau server online, right? So we simply do what? We simply go to Google Chrome or Edge or any browser and open the service directly from there, right? So it means somebody must have created an interface for us through which we are going to utilize that service directly from a browser, and this is called what is software as a service. So let us more talk about the certification right now. So guys, again, if I talk about the scope of it is very wide, right? It provides more than 600 services. Today, we are more dedicatedly talking about the fundamental paper, fundamental examination, and also some of other scope area around the data, business intelligence, DevOps, and architecture, right? Okay. So what is the advantage that we're getting from the certification if we are doing for AZ-900, right? So it contains basically three different sections. So first is what is the cloud concepts, and the weightage is 25 to 30%. Then we have some architecture and services. Again, you can get all the information online also about these particular three areas, right? And then we have the Azure management and governance. So the Azure Fundamental Learning Path Series can help you prepare for exam AZ-900 and Microsoft Azure Fundamental. So this exam include these three knowledge domain area. And this area will be helping you to understand the fundamental of the Azure that we're talking about right now. For example, here as we discussed, what are the public, private, and community cloud, right? How it works. If I talk about the infrastructure services, if I talk about the platform as services, software services, what are these services, how it works actually, how basically we work on the management. Management is more on the account side, okay, and how the resources basically use in the Azure and how they're tied up, okay, with the kind of coupling that provide a complete governance and I would say control over the Azure. Okay. So that is the first layer of understanding the basic concept of the Azure. Okay. So once basically you are done with these basic certification, right, you will be more confident, right? You will be more knowledgeable, right? Uh, with the help of that, you are able to boost your career potential, but it totally depends upon what kind of certification you're talking about, right? So as we discussed, fundamental is a very first layer of the certification. Through that, you are able to understand the core concepts of Azure, their internal services, their internal resources, the internal governance, right? All these kinds of stuff. And based on that, you are able to select your own path. So as we discussed, there might be some of the person in the audiences, right, who want to make their career in the infrastructure side or security side, right? There might be some of you that you want to make your career in the I would say data warehouse, business intelligence, predictive analytics, right? So again, the career path is completely different, right? So obviously, guys, nobody can learn 600 services. It's not easy, right? So in this particular case, whatever career path you want to decide in the future, based on that, you can take the certification path also. Okay. So again, that is some basic statistics that we have got about the engineers, which are more on data side and architecture side in the Azure, right? So once you're done with the basic certification, AZ-900, you can move ahead and you can go for the cloud developer, right? You can go for the cloud architect role. You can go for the cloud DevOps engineer who basically manage CI/CD pipelines and all the other services. Cloud system engineer more on the infrastructure side. You can go for cloud data engineer who basically work on more on the Synapse, Databricks, and databases, storage, data factory, and ETL operation, right? So again, totally depends upon your job profile. So again, we can repeat, see on what this certification path. So just give one minute. And yeah, here you go. So here you can basically find out all the information that we're discussing about the three parameters, right? The here you can see label is beginner, right? And as a candidate for this certification, you are a technology professional who wants to demonstrate foundational knowledge of the cloud concepts in general and Microsoft Azure in particular, right? Okay. So you can describe Azure architecture, components, and Azure services like as discussing about what compute. We're discussing about what networking, storage, all that stuff. So these are the three level of these particular course. First is what your introduction to Azure cloud concepts. Second is what architecture and services. Third is what management and governance. Right. So basically, you can also make some do some practice over here. Okay. And just to make once again. Talking that this deal, right? We're just discussing about, okay? So guys, let us talk about something about the problem that occurs generally in absence of the cloud and what kind of advantage we used to get with the help of cloud operation, right? So First is what? Hardware failure, scalability, resource fluctuation, maintenance. So we can talk about all these problems one by one. So when we are having a private cloud architecture, which where all the organization and companies manage their own infrastructure in-house. So as I discussed with you, we are getting different projects from the state government marketing from the US, and they basically still are utilizing 7 to 8 year old architecture and running with their on-premise data centers. So first problem is what? If they really want to deliver information and data to all their customers, all the employees 24/7, they should be preparing a backup server, right? So in this particular case, if the primary server is not working, at least the backup server comes in the picture and provide all the data and the information. That is a problem, right? Second is what? Scalability. Right now, that organization basically have a limited number of employees, limited number of clients, and data is also not that great, right? There might be a possibility that organization is having exponential growth in the next few years. They are planning some new avenues, right? New business plans are in the picture. So they really want to scale up their data. Now it's very difficult to work on what? Hardware upgradation time to time, right? It takes time, money, efforts, and resources. So in this particular case, the issue is what? Scalability, right? Next is what? Resource fluctuation. Resource fluctuation is a kind of problem which we can control with the help of certain compute size parameter. So guys, let us talk or give 5 minutes to compute size also, which is a very important thing about the scalability resource fluctuation, right? So let's just suppose there's a business house ABC, and right now they're working on some different products in the market, and they need to promote the products online with the help of some web application. And they also get different kind of inquiry about those products, right? So in this particular case, once it becomes popular, they can also sell their products online, right, in the market. We can talk about any e-commerce like Amazon or something like this also. Now, they want certain kind of extension on their services on different time period, right? So let's just suppose we have got a festive season, and in that festive season, that online product company certain is getting huge amount of request in terms of their products, right? And they have to deliver their products to the customer. But this is not going to be always, right? Because that's a festive season, because they have promoted some discounts operation on their products. That's why they're getting these kind of offers, okay? So they want these services to be utilized only for 2 or 3 months, but after that, once that festive season is over, they do not want to require those extensive services. So in 2020, guys, that was very common situation we got in terms of COVID, right? Let's just suppose there was a business house which was running very successfully in 2020 January, right? Now, from February, March, we started to get more COVID cases, and it was really impacted the service sector, if you all guys remember, right? In 2020 and 21 earlier, right? So there were various kind of sector which basically dealing with the public, they were not able to generate that much of revenue. So in this case, let's just suppose, just for example, on a particular moment of time, they were utilizing already the cloud operation. And there was a company ABC, which was utilizing 1 TB of storage on their infrastructure server, right? What happened? Because of the COVID issue, they did not get too much of the, I would say, services from the customer. They do not have much of the work remaining. So why they want to utilize 1 TB of service? What they can do? They can basically simply go and request to the Azure that we do not want 1 TB of services. Can you reduce it to 250 GB of services, right? Similarly, they were using a processing power of, let's say, suppose XYZ number of RAM, right? So they can reduce the amount of RAM from the infrastructure server. So the cost can be reduced, right? Now let's suppose after 6 months, again, they got an improved situation after COVID. What they can do, guys, again, they can again go to the Azure portal, and they can again extend their compute size in terms of processing power, in terms of storage, again to 1 TB and other things. So thing is what, that is what, guys, it is called what? Fluctuation. So fluctuation means what? As per our requirement, we are able to extend the services in terms of resources, which can be storage, which can be processing power, which can be RAM, which can be XYZ thing. And if they do not require such a big amount of resource compute power, they can reduce it. This is called what, guys? Resource fluctuation, right? Maintenance, again, a big problem. So as we discussed that if somebody is managing the infrastructure by their own, they need to hire a dedicated IT team to basically work on primary and secondary domain server, right? Apart from that, they work on the storage. They also work on maintenance activities, which can be sometimes very expensive operation. So guys, all this problem, we have got a solution in terms of what? Azure. So how we can bridge this gap, guys? With this gap, we can basically this bridge, right? So we can bridge this gap with the help of what? Cloud computing, right? So we are getting which advantage? The application advantage, right? So in this case, when you create any storage or any database in Azure, it provides you different kind of option to replicate your data multiple number of times. So you are able to replicate your data 3 number of times in a single data center. You are able to replicate your data multiple number of times in more 2 data center. And it also allows you to replicate your data in multiple data center around the world, around the regions, right? So for example, when basically we work in the databases and data warehouse in Azure, so first option is what? I can make a 3 copies in same data center. Let's say my data center is West US data center, right? We have got one more expensive option. What? We can basically make multiple copies in 2 or more data center, but in the same West US region, right? So if anyhow, if my primary data center is not working on that day, they got some issue, they got some problem, right? Still, we are able to get all the information from second data center. Now we have got one more better option. Which option? That we are able to replicate the copies not in the same region, but in different region. So what I can see, I can select East US data center, right? So my primary copy will be maintained in the West US data center, and my secondary copies will be maintained in the East US data center. So what will happen, guys? Even any moment of time, if my West US location has got some issue, XYZ problem, and it is compromised, but still I have the access of my data from East US data center, right? So this kind of availability makes sure, so Microsoft says, hey, we are providing you 99.99% SLA, right? Based on that, you are able to access information in data 24/7, 365 days, right? Similarly, I spoke about the elasticity, right? So what is elasticity? So as we discussed that if we are able to adjust our compute size in terms of storage, in terms of resources, in terms of processor, as per our requirement. So today I want 100 GB of storage. Tomorrow I want 1000 GB of storage. Day after tomorrow I want only 50 GB of storage. So it's not like this, we can only expand it. No, we can expand it and we can also reduce it as per the requirement. And based on that, my payment cycle will be decided, right? So all these things we are getting from the Azure with the help of, in a very, I would say, quick manner. You can simply go to portal, make your request, adjust your size, and the things will be applied immediately on the resources like database and infrastructure, right? So solution is what? Cloud computing, right? So it provides security, right? Unlimited storage. It totally depends upon how much storage you want, right? Low maintenance, okay? So in this case, we can only work on our core business operation. We do not need to worry, hey, we should be worrying about the primary server, secondary server. We should be worrying about data backup on daily basis. We should be worrying about replication. No, you can just concentrate on what? Your core business operation, right? Improve collaboration. So with the help of our data, which is stored in a particular data center, and this is very helpful when we work on the project, right? So sometimes, guys, we have to work on a project where we have offshore resources involved and onshore resources involved, right? So when we work on a government project, guys, we have some resources in Costa Rica, which is the nearshore location, and we have some resources in India, which is basically offshore location, and we have some resources in the US, right? So with the help of a proper kind of account establishment in Azure, or any of the cloud computing, we are able to work on a single project from different location without any problem, right? As we discussed, backup and restore data is decided based on what kind of operation we want, how much of the application we want, and how data has to be backed up in different location. Again, this is an automated operation. You have to make sure that what location you're selecting, your primary data center, your secondary data center, how you're selecting, which location like East US or West US. Based on that, everything will be done and you will always access your information 24/7. So now let us basically jump to a small demo. Demo in the sense, just want to show you the cloud environment. So guys, I have logged in from my own CCS account, my company account, and we are the authorized Microsoft partner, right? So here you can see the interface of services and you can see some of the services, quick navigation path like subscription, resource code, all resources, dashboard. Dashboard will be help you to see your utilization of resources. For example, if you have a database created, how much percentage has been utilized on day one, then how much has been day two. You can see all these spikes of the data request and every single thing in the dashboard, right? Not for on database, but for all the resource like infrastructure also, right? So you can see some of the services over here. Let me just click on more services, guys. So here you can see categories, right? AI, machine learning, analytics, compute, containers, databases, DevOps, general, hybrid plus multi-cloud. So you can see n number of services over here, right? So let's just suppose if I'm going to click on databases, which is our primary domain. So you can see different kind of databases available that will be utilized in the cloud. Again, guys, these are the platform services, right? So we can see Azure SQL databases, instances, Cosmos DB, database for PostgreSQL because Azure has collaboration with multiple databases in MySQL also, right? Okay. So you can find all these services over here. So with the help of these services, we are able to create architecture in terms of requirement from the business operation, and we can put our data inside these database or data warehouses. And we can also set up some parameters for the compute size. Compute in the sense, if suppose I just want to, I'm an individual who is working on a project for testing of any testing, I do not need to make a very big database, right? And don't need to make much pay, right? So we can make a very basic database and I need to only pay, I would say $5 per month for my testing operation, right? On the other hand, if there's a small business house which have 100 employees and they are making a kind of database for their own internal use cases, right? They want better space like 250 GB or 500 GB, something like this. And because all those 100 employees simultaneously access the data, they want a better latency operation also, right? So they can put some more investment on the resources, and based on that, they can make a plan. They can purchase a plan which is providing all the information to 100 employees simultaneously. On other hand, we can have an enterprise level company, which might be having 10,000 plus employees, right? And which are around, let's say suppose 2 or 3 continents, and we have a huge amount of data always transacted and analyzed every single minute, right? So they want to see this information at any moment of time from all the location without any latency problem. So they need to purchase a kind of plan which is satisfying 10,000 users 24/7 all the time without any delay, right? So again, choice is yours. Okay, so in this particular case, you are able to purchase any plan as per the requirement, right? So I think we discussed on it. We also discussed about the solution that we're getting from this new problem, right? And here you can see all the advantage of cloud computing, right? That we discussed in good collaboration, accessibility from mobile, from any tablet, laptop, right? Low maintenance cost, mobility, service in per use, pay per use. Whatever service you want to utilize, based on that, you have to make the payment, right? Unlimited storage capacity, security. So all that kind of information and advantage we are getting from the cloud computing, right? So this is something about fundamental, guys, and based on the your choice of career, you can select a right certification path starting from the fundamental, and you can basically go ahead and look at it. So thanks for the session, and I'm open for the questions.
Thank you, Nitin, for the great presentation and your valuable information. Now I request to the audience, please pop in your questions. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Our instructor, Nitin, will answer all your questions. Okay, Nitin, let me see if we have any questions. Yes, we have few questions. The one question is, can we build a business application such as POS, health case, or customer support on a Azure platform?
Can I
Nitin, we
see that
have a
question?
yeah,
Yes,
we
this
have
question.
these questions on Q&A. So the question is, can we build any business application such as POS, health case, or customer support on Azure platform?
Yes. So, to answer your question, yes, we have gone through such kind of services for one of the utility domain, where we set up a portal with the help of Power Platform. So, Power Platform basically is a platform that we built on Azure, which contains some components like Power Pages and Power Apps. So, this we built for one of the particular utility client, water district client. There, they were getting inquiries not only from the internal employees, but also from where the external customers. So Power Page and Power Apps are built on the top of the Azure, which provide a mobile application and a portal application through which we are able to build a customer related operation. So it's, you can see that's kind of business app, right? But it's not like Android or Windows app. It's a very simple kind of app that we can build with the help of Power Apps. Similarly, with the help of Power Page, we can build a portal. Through that, we are able to serve our customer answers in a very easy manner. So, although we have done for the utility domain, water district, but we can also do it for healthcare or any other business domain also.
Okay. Mhm. So we have another question. How do you compare Azure with similar platforms such as AWS, Snowflakes, etc.?
Uh, See, I would say that all these services like Azure, AWS, GCP, they have their own set of services. They have basically on set of, I would say, pricing option. Okay. Snowflake is a dedicated warehouse and it basically is able to be deployed on Azure, GCP, and AWS, all three. So if I'm talking about the Snowflake is a kind of database platform. So when you starting build database platform, it asks you immediately where you want to deploy my data warehouse. You want to deploy it on the Azure, you want to deploy on the GCP, or you want to deploy what on the Azure, AWS, right? So if I talk about the comparison, there are certain set of services available between these three. GCP is a little bit less popular, but if I talk about the Azure, it has a wide presence in terms of data centers and regions, I would say. Second thing is what I would say many of us use Office 365 products, right? Many of us use Windows operating system, right? So in this particular case, when we use all these servicing products where we already have some license available and all these things available, it have a direct what I would say impact on the pricing plan that we utilize in what in the Azure. So I we cannot compare all these three, but yes, they have their own set of servicing parameters through which we can select the right option actually.
All right. Okay. So Nitin, we have one more question. I have sent that
Mhm.
question to you on chat as well. The question is, Azure suffered several data breaches in 2024, exploiting CVE 25 392B uh, vulnerabilities. What is the Azure doing and make sure these types of exploits are not replicated in the future?
I can see this sheet. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Yes, some good question, but I think they are building some kind of defenders and other things I need to see. But if I talk about internal defenders, Microsoft Azure is building to make sure that all these things are not going to happen once again. Uh, Although Azure makes sure that most of the data in database is very much secure, but based on these vulnerabilities, they are going to work on more defender application on security side to make sure that these breaches are not going to be happening. That is just the latest function I have right now.
Mhm. Okay, so we have one more question. What is the career path if I want to become an architect?
I would say if you want to become an architect after going for the fundamental, I think you should go for the Azure data engineer role. So we have one certification path available for data engineer. So here you are able to learn some basic skills on the first Azure SQL database, Azure Synapse, which is a data warehouse, both serverless and other pool, dedicated SQL pool. And then basically we have to learn the Microsoft Fabric environment. So guys, Microsoft Fabric basically the kind of environment which is tightly coupling all its components like Synapse, Power Platform, Power BI, right? With the help and Databricks. With the help of that, they're able to utilize the service in an integrated environment. So I would say if you really want to go for that architecture path, please go for the data engineering certification after doing fundamental certification. And I believe in next couple of months or next month, we have one more webinar on data fundamentals. So I would say recommend that you can also attend that data fundamental webinar to get more information certification path.
Mhm. Okay, so Nitin, we have one last question from Mohammed. What is the difference between Azure Cloud and Azure DevOps?
Mhm. So guys, Azure DevOps, I think if you have history, you might have learned about what? The Team Foundation server, right? So Team Foundation server earlier was utilized on what? On-premise environment. So guys, Azure Cloud basically is a complete environment that provides the infrastructure, computing resources, right? And Azure DevOps is like, for example, when we work on a couple of projects in the state government, so we have to maintain what? Some life cycle of the project, right? So let's say suppose we worked on development, testing in production environment, right? We have to work on CI/CD pipelines, right? We have to make multiple version of the application time to time. We have to make all the management of the project, including different steps of the life cycle. So DevOps will be helping you to streamline the entire what I would say development life cycle of the project, right? So it is a part of what Azure Cloud. So earlier it was very much utilized with the help of TFS, which is known as Team Foundation Server.
All right. Okay. So I think we are done up with the questions. If anyone have any question, you can reach us on the email. We will reach you back with all the details. Thank you, Nitin. We have done up with the questions. And again, thank you for your time today. We have a special offer announcement.
Thank you.
We are running a special offer on Azure Fundamental course and also on few more courses. This is the industry's ever big discount. It is the premium discount. To know more, you can visit on our website. Me and my team will also send you the email. You can reply us back. If in case you have any friend or colleague looking for the training, you can also suggest them. I have also added my LinkedIn profile and company details. If anyone want to know more, can connect with me directly. So when it comes on upskilling and reskilling, CCS Learning Academy is designed to be your organization's secret weapon. A network of talented and passionate professional instructors are ready and waiting to work directly with you and your team. If you are new to IT or seasoned professional, we offer a wide range of courses for your needs. If you need more information, please contact us. On behalf of CCS and our instructor Nitin, we would like to thank you for your attention on this important training session today. Hope you enjoyed the session. Looking forward to you all for joining our future webinars. Stay safe out there. Thank you.